In this video, I'm going to share with you how I cloned a $2 billion business model and an over $12 billion industry, which is the lead generation industry. Now, the top companies in the world that you've heard of do this. The one I'm going to share with you right now is Zillow, but there are other companies that do this, like Angie's List, there's Thumbtack, there is Experian, there's Credit Karma, there's NerdWallet. All of these large companies are actually pay-per-lead companies, and I'm going to break down how Zillow does it in this video, and I'm going to share with you how I've been doing it over the past 8 years and how I took this exact business model to over $20,000 per month. And if you like what I'm sharing in the video and it sounds interesting, just leave a like and drop a comment, and I'll send you over a link to my free course. And then if you're interested in actually running with this business model, you can clone the entire business model that I'm going to share with you today when you start a free trial using the software that I use to actually run this model, which is called Go High Level. So let me break down how this works, and then I'm going to show you how I do this. So this is Zillow Premier Agent, and if you look this up for yourself, you're going to see that they don't have any public revenue for the Premier Agent program, which is the program is designed for real estate agents, and these real estate agents basically pay to get leads from the platform. So you won't be able to find updated data on the Premier Agent program, but in 2022, they made right around $2 billion in the Premier Agent program, which is primarily based on lead generation. Okay, so this is a proven model, and this is something that every business owner, most service business owners need. That's why you see them across different industries. So let me show you guys how this actually works. So the first kind of part of the infrastructure for the program is Zillow's website. Okay, everyone pretty much knows or has heard of Zillow and uses it to look at properties, even if they're not serious about buying a home or selling a home. Maybe you want to look up a specific house or something. Most people will go to Zillow. So Zillow has done an amazing job at creating a platform and a resource for traffic. Okay, they get millions of website visitors each month checking out their website. Okay, so with that traffic, right, they have a few different ways that they funnel people in. And then when they have that traffic, they essentially sell it to the people that need it, which are real estate agents. Okay, so if I'm over here and I'm looking at a property for example, and I just click on this one, then if I'm interested in this property, right, I can click Contact Agent, and then it's going to connect me with the person who's attempting to sell this home. Okay, so that's one way that the platform generates leads. Now, in this particular instance, the person who is attempting to sell this home, since they're what's called a listing agent, they're going to get these leads directly as long as this listing is on Zillow, even if they're not paying for it. Okay, but where the real estate agents will actually pay to play and get these leads is over here in the agent finder section. And you guys can see they actually have pay per lead for different types of people as well. There's agents, there's property managers, there's builders, there's photographers. So Zillow is just a traffic hub. Okay, so if we click over here, we go to agents and we look in Dallas, Texas, which a lot of people do this, right? And we start scrolling through, we're going to start to see, like, let's click on this one here, and we're going to start to see right here this little badge that says Premier Agent. Okay, so Zillow Premier Agent is an advertising program that helps connect customers, right, home buyers, home sellers, to local real estate professionals. Okay, so these are paid advertisers and they are not affiliated with Zillow. Okay, so Michelle right here is paying to play. Okay, they used to actually have this over here, like on their profile. They may do this to make it seem a little bit more equal who people click on. So let's click on this one and see if, so this person is not a Premier Agent. So I'm not quite sure. They used to have it here. So this one is not as well. Let's see if this one is. Okay, so these people that I just clicked on are not Premier Agents. And so this person right here, Michelle, she's actually paying to, rank on that first page. And there's a few different ways that it works. Okay, because I have past clients that, I've logged in and seen how this stuff actually works. So one way that it can actually work is just based on a market share. Okay, so market share would be, let's just go by like a specific zip code. Let's just choose this random area. So let's just pretend this is the zip code right here. So Zillow, based on all the traffic, kind of knows, okay, on average, we're going to get about, let's just say 10 leads per month in this area. And so when you're a Zillow Premier agent, you basically can see, at least when I would log in, that's how it was at the time, you would be able to log in and see like the market share. And there was like, let's just say a total of $10,000 or $25,000. Let's go with that, since that's more realistic. There was like $25,000 that could be advertised to in that market area. And so then you would put in $1,000 and you're only going to get basically 4% of the market share of those leads, right? So if someone said, hey, I'm going to spend $20,000 in this market, they're going to get 80% of that market, 20,000 out of 25, right? And so because of that, right, those people that pay and the amount that they pay is how they, decide who's going to get these different types of leads. Now, there may be some influence as well as to, people that pay and then they get to rank, higher up. I don't know if Michelle would be ranked lower potentially if she wasn't, paying right here. So that's something that, like I said, they changed that because it did used to say Zillow Premier, and it would even say some of that up here. So you can see this guy's a Premier agent, so he's up at the top. And you can actually see, just based on, let's see this one as well, this is also a Premier agent, okay? So I can't tell you the exact formula that they use, but I know for sure there is some sort of market share, and then there could be an influence here when someone's looking for an agent. They can actually see, okay, well, I'm going to go with this agent because they're ranked up at the top, right? So there could be something there. So now that you kind of understand the business model, I was looking to see if it also showed. Yeah, so see, I think this is where this let's see what this is. Yeah, so let's see, meet the agent. Yeah, okay, so those are the ways they funnel them. Okay, so the first way is, this isn't really a Premier program, but when you get a listing, right, you have a house for sale, when people click contact agent, that goes over to the person listing the property, the agent. The other way is when people are searching, so they're like, I want to find an agent, and then they start looking through here, and then there could be some form of ranking system that is going to distribute leads to them based on how much they spend, and then that'll rank them higher. The other way, which I just kind of figured out right here, is that as you're looking through this property, right, and you're like, oh, I'm interested in this, you start scrolling down and you start looking at everything that it has to offer, and then you see these people here that are basically being paying to show up right here. You click browse local experts, and so you can actually kind of infer here that there are, see how this actually just changed? So you can see that's kind of how the system works, right? And then when somebody clicks meet the agent, submits their information, essentially that gets deducted from this person's credit when they're paying for Zillow. So that's how it works, right? Generally speaking, I don't know all the specifics, but that's the core concept. So now let me show you guys how I've done this. All right, I don't have some huge website, I don't have millions of website views, but I have figured out a way to engineer a system where I can generate leads for real estate investors and do it in a very simple way and sell leads. Okay, when you get into the agency game and you start selling all these different things, you start selling your time, it starts to get really confusing, and you end up just trading your time for money. Whereas when you really understand the potential of a pay per lead type of business, I'm going to kind of open your eyes to just one way of doing it here, but as I walk you through it, I'll explain other ways to think about it that could be helpful as well. Okay, now before I walk you through my formula, I just kind of want to give you a rundown of what a real estate investor is looking for, because that's who I help, and that's the business model I teach people so they can just clone my entire system, the ads, everything I use. So if you're new to it, I want to explain how this works so you have a better idea. So using Zillow, we can still find the same people that a real estate investor is looking for. Now, the property I clicked on when we started was actually kind of a good one because it looked all up to date and remodeled, but I'll just go, and see if I can find one on my own here. Okay, so a realtor, right, they make money when they help someone buy a home, right? So let's say you're a young couple and you're wanting to buy your first home, right? Most people know a real estate agent. So that real estate agent will go and, show them different houses, tell them about different things to look out for when they buy the house, et cetera, right? And when that family kind of purchases the home for the first time, then the real estate agent gets a commission, okay? And then the other commission is the person who's selling the home. So all these little red dots here, my mouse actually just froze, so hold on. Okay, so the real estate that helps someone buy the home makes a commission, and then the real estate agent that is listing the house, which you can see here, makes a commission as well. Now, what the real estate investor is looking for is a property just like this, okay? So you guys see the red, dots here, right? These are all properties that are actively on the market. These are properties that people are publicly saying, hey, these are for sale. Now, what the real estate investor is looking for, and even the real estate agent, they are looking for these properties, okay? So you can see here, if I click on this, there's no particular reason I clicked on this, but you can see here it says off the market, okay, or off market. Now, the real estate investor is looking for these, and so are the real estate agents. And the reason that they're looking for these is because they're going to turn into some sort of commission, right, or sale sometime in the future if you can find people that want to sell before they actually want to sell, right? That's kind of the game of real estate. And so the real estate investors, they are looking for these off-market properties, but they're also looking for people who are willing to sell them at a discount, okay? So you can see here, we check on sold. This is gonna show us the properties that sold in the area. Now, Texas is one of the states that doesn't actually show you the public data of how much it sold for. So we can go over here to California, which does, and I'm in California, so I'll just pick on one of these random ones. So without getting too deep into real estate and how that particularly works, you can see here that this home sold for $850,000, right? Now, to oversimplify it, let's just say the exact same house was next door, like the exact same house. Now, if the person here that sold it for $850,000 wasn't in a rush to sell, they have their job, everything's going well, they can afford to sell the home at the highest possible price with a realtor, okay, most of the time. Now, let's say the house next door was the exact same, every single thing was the exact same, but the people that own the property are going through a challenging time. Maybe they lost their jobs, a year ago, they've been trying to get back on their feet or something, but they just haven't been able to, get a job, for example, right? So because of that, they may need to sell their home as fast as possible. That's just one of the reasons. I'd have to go into more detail, but just to kind of oversimplify, that's an example. And so because they have to sell it right away and they don't want to work with an agent and they don't want to do all these other things, they're just like, look, I need to get out of here and get as much money as I can, and that's what I have to do. Then that is the type of sale for a real estate investor, okay? And so what my system does, I'm going to show you guys, is I run ads and I find all these that are not, these are all grayed out. I just find a bunch of these that are not currently on the market, right? And they need to be sold, but they're willing to be sold at a discount, okay? And when you do this successfully, the real estate agent will make it actually look like one of these. So this isn't a total remodel, but you can see the kitchen looks up to date. They didn't redo all of this, but when you see an actual flip, you'll be able to tell because everything looks kind of brand new. This may be one that looks like it. And so what you can see here, this one didn't do great, I don't think. But basically you can see here, like somebody buys it for $500,000 and then, 6 months later, 3 months later, they sell it for $600,000, just as a simplified example. So these real estate investors, they're willing to pay for leads because they're gonna make a lot of money when they remodel and flip the house, okay? So let me show you how I do this and how simple this actually is, because there's a lot of noise out there about all the things you have to do. This is my simple, straightforward approach. This is what I'm teaching people how to do. So the first thing is we need a simple Facebook page. Now the cool part about this too is when we advertise, I just run it from one page, and that page represents the type of lead that we're looking for. So for example, we're looking for people that need to sell their home fast for cash. So I could call my page, sell your home fast for cash, right? And just have a simple logo. So you have your page there, and then we have one simple funnel, okay? So I'm going to show you guys how I've done this inside of this software called Go High Level. And like I said, if you want to clone what I'm doing, you can partner with me, use my affiliate link, and you get access to this whole system I'm going to show you. And so basically inside of Go High Level here, you can see here we have this Facebook ads tab, and this has all of my different proven ad templates for finding these motivated sellers is what they're called. So you click on Facebook, I'm going to click on the long form here, and basically the way it works is if I were to want to generate a lead in California, which is where I just have that, where I was showing you guys, I can pick this California template here, click select, and then you'll see here, we need a way to collect the leads information, all right? And the way that we do this is on it's called a Facebook lead form. And this is where we can collect the seller's information about why they're selling, when they want to sell, all that stuff that's relevant to the investor, right? So we collect all that information here, and in order to generate these leads, we have to pay for advertising. Now, the reason that I love advertising is because it's so predictable, okay? You do have to pay, right? Now, you don't have to pay this for your client. You can get the client to pay. I never pay for the ads. The client always pays for the ads, but the value of the ad is, the value of the ad is twofold. Number one, it's predictable, okay? So it's fully compliant. We're not doing anything illegal. I know people do get into like outreach and text blasting and stuff like that, and those things work, right? But they're not really, I know some people who've gotten into lawsuits with cold calling and stuff like that. So you don't want to deal with any of that, right? So it's fully compliant and predictable. We're paying to show up on the platform and get in front of these people who are also on Zillow and they're looking at selling their home. Facebook has the data for all this other stuff, okay? So don't think you gotta have all this advanced targeting and stuff. The templates I have all that built in anyway, and the image and the AI of Facebook already knows who these people are, honestly. That's the truth. It used to be different. Now it's like you don't even need to target, and you just need to have a good ad and it'll work, okay? So the advertising is predictable, okay? So some of you guys maybe, thinking about doing other ways of getting businesses leads, and that's fine. But advertising is extremely predictable, right? And this model with real estate investors, the thing about it is off of just one property, they're gonna make $25,000, $30,000, $50,000. So they can afford to pay $3,000 on ads, okay? Because they're gonna get one customer and that's gonna make it all back, okay? So it's predictable and it's compliant, right? And then on top of it, it's leveraged, okay? When you're offering a service or a product, right, and it relies on you or your employees or a bunch of things to go right, for me, it wasn't the business model for me to do it that way. With advertising, I can create the ads, design the system, and then it's leveraged because, when I go to sleep, the ads are still running. The ads are still generating traffic, okay? So to sell this type of model successfully, you just need to find the right type of buyer who's willing to do this, okay? And real investors, they will do something like this because they just need to see that it works, okay? They get one customer from it, and they're gonna be, good really for like 6 months or so from the system, all right? So we just run ads straight from here, and then you choose where you wanna run the ad. So if I was gonna do Los Angeles, I just click on that, and then boom, I remove this little default location, and then just click launch. Okay, so I have one simple page, okay, that I run all the clients' ads from. I have one funnel, all right, which is inside of the form right there. And then after they fill out that form, I have another longer funnel so we can get more information. But we collect the initial information right here. That's how I'd recommend when you're getting started. Just start simple. So you collect their information right there. And then now we're going a little bit above and beyond what Zillow is doing. Now Zillow has us beat in terms of the website and the value they're adding in that way, but there are some other ways we can add value too. So we get the lead here first. Now the other thing that we can do here is we can text the leads and email the leads, and this is all inside of Go High Level, which is where you can partner with me to do this, okay? If you already have High Level, you can just grab it if you want to get this system for yourself. But I actually want to show you one thing before I show you the automation. This is a little kind of nerdy, but it's still pretty cool. So basically, what we can do here when we get these leads, okay, from the ad platform, we can actually determine and tell Facebook, hey, what is a quality lead to our client's business? And then how do we make sure Facebook continues to find those people? So without getting too deep into this, we can basically do a filter in this example where if the property is already listed, so when people submit these forms, sometimes they're so desperate to sell that they already actually have their home on the market like this. You can see this is for sale by this person. So this person has been listed with the agent only one day, but sometimes they've been listed with an agent for like 90 days. And because of that, they start filling out these forms like, look, I may be, maybe they thought they had time, but they don't for whatever reason. They lost their job or something. And they're like, look, if the agent isn't going to get me the result I want to sell this home, then I'm going to go and figure it out on my own. And they start filling out my forms, right? Now, for the investor, this isn't always the best type of lead because in order for them to buy the house, they have to go through the agent and there's all this other stuff, right? So to simplify what I'm saying, when a property is listed, we don't really prefer that. It's not what we're going for. So this little automation I have that you can add any question to will only tell Facebook we have a lead if the property is not listed. So anything we ask the lead on that survey, we can put a condition around it and then trigger Facebook's API is what it's called. You don't really have to worry about it in terms of understanding what that means. It's basically if the property is not listed, it's going to go this way, and then Facebook's like, cool, we got a lead. Now, if we get a lead and it is listed, we're still going to get their information, but Facebook's not going to be like, okay, let's go get more of those. So that's kind of a little, nerdy thing I like, but I think it's cool and it is helpful, okay? So going back to how we can add value, I have follow-up campaigns in here so that when leads start filling out their information, we're not just sending these, submissions to the investor and then saying, okay, well, good luck, right? You can do that, but here's how I've added value doing this. So when they fill out the form, we text them immediately and we email them immediately, and then we just continue to email and text them until they respond, okay? If they respond, inside of this workflow, it says stop on response, so it'll just stop, okay? And this only runs during, normal hours, okay? It's not like it's going off in the middle of the night. So they fill out the form, we text them, we get a lot of people that respond right here, right when they fill it out. And that's, that alone can be the difference between successful campaigns and unsuccessful campaigns. You have one that gets leads and they text them and call them and email them right away, and then somebody waits 2-3 days, that person could have already filled out 5 other forms and they're on to the next. So we have text and email, and I have a ton here. These are already pre-built, done. And then if they don't respond to any of these messages, we go to a phase 2, which is basically just more of the same. It's not the same exact messaging, but it's the same idea, like follow-up content. Now, the other thing I have here is an AI booking bot. This is Go High Level's AI booking bot. And what's cool about this is when they fill out that form and then we send them that text has a question in it. And when we ask them that question, that gets them to respond. And then when they respond, they go through this workflow, which is an AI booking bot. And the AI booking bot's job is to qualify them and turn them into an appointment for the real estate investor. And so instead of just getting a normal lead, we're actually getting somebody who is filling out a form, they're engaging with us, they're having conversation, and then on top of that, they're booking an appointment and talking with their client. And all it takes, is 15, 20 real conversations with one of these people, and that's going to turn into a deal for the investor, right? And then they're going to go and, remodel that property. And then as a result of that, their business is going to make money, and then they just keep investing into the ads, keep investing into the system, and, you keep doing your part of it. So that's the model that I run. And the other part of it too is, when I started, I was trying to figure out which ads worked and how much the leads cost and how many clicks does it take to get a lead and how many leads does it take to get a deal, how many leads does it take to get an appointment. I was like figuring and trying to figure out all that when I started, whereas now I know these ads work, I know the numbers, and so when I get a client, I just plug in the proven ads and then I manage the system off of proven metrics, okay? So I'm not in there, oh my gosh, I wonder if this is gonna work. I know it's built on a solid foundation, so my only job really becomes finding more investors to, buy the service versus I don't know if it's going to work. I'm constantly changing my system. I'm constantly rebuilding stuff. And so that's the model I'm running. And like I said, Zillow is just one of these business models that you can model in terms of their lead generation, but there's a bunch other ones as well. Like I said, there's NerdWallet, Bankrate. You can look these up. And these are huge companies, and what do they all do? They create some sort of website, create some sort of resource for the market, and then they funnel people into actual service providers who are willing to do the work to get these people what they want, right? And they just sell those repeatedly. So you can tap into your own little mini pay-per-lead business and make it very simple to run. And you can do it for, because this is something I see too, people that ask this question, like at the end of the day, you just have to decide what business or what purpose your business serves. And once you get clear, you just see, okay, well, I'm going to do a pay-per-lead model for investors, and you just build it out, and you realize that all you got to do is just get more customers, right? Versus people are always kind of making and chasing the newest thing. But at the end of the day, AI agent, anything that's trending, really the result is for either some sort of increase in new customers or some sort of like productivity increase. So not everything is about more leads and more customers, but in some way, part of the equation for businesses will always be more new customers, right? There will always be a segment of the market who wants more new customers. And so that's the segment I tapped into, and getting leads and appointments is essential to that process. So that's the model I'm running. That's how you can do it based on, like I said, cloning a real model. It's not like it's made up. A lot of businesses do this, and you can check them out. Like I said, go look up NerdWallet, go through their website, see how it works. And then if you're interested, like I said, in partnering with me, you can do that. Links down below. I'll see you in the next video, and I'll talk to you then. Bye-bye.